Hey everybody, welcome back to Football Talk with Vinny. In today's video, we're going to be going over the Houston Texans. Now obviously, like I said in my previous videos, I'm going to be going over team by team and I'm going to go over draft order. So obviously the Texans did not have their first round pick, but if they had their first round pick, they would have picked third overall this season. So again, that's why the Texans are the next team to get a video. Now, as for getting into the video, this is probably the worst run team in the NFL, and it's not even really close. The decisions they've made over the past 2-3 years have been horrendous at best. You know, the only bright spot they had was Deshaun Watson, and now with his legal issues, right, that's turning into a huge negative as well. You know, unfortunately, the first two teams I did in the Jets and the Jaguars, they are rebuilding teams, but as you'll see in this video as I get into it, those teams have set themselves up for success by creating a lot of cap space, acquiring a lot of draft picks, where the Houston Texans have literally done the complete opposite of both of those moves. So we're going to get right into it. Obviously, we'll first talk about the Deshaun Watson story, the allegations. Unfortunately, you're going to have to see that one play out. And again, whether he's innocent or not, obviously only time will tell. Once they probably go to trial and all that gets situated. But, you know, if he does come back and he is the quarterback, again, he's already said he doesn't want to play for you guys, but you never know. Now with this whole legal issue, he may not have any trade value at this point, so he may have to come back and play for the Houston Texans if he's even able to play and reestablish himself this year. And then if he plays well, he'll be able to be traded maybe out of Houston. But again, it's just a really terrible situation for really everyone involved. Now let's get into, first I'm actually going to get into why they didn't have a good offseason. Again, they have been trading a lot of their picks, right? And even when they trade away their good players like DeAndre Hopkins, they didn't get much back for them, which again hurts your football team because now you don't have the assets to actually start the rebuilding process. So when it comes to cap space, they have $9 million. They didn't really even spend that much on free agency. Some of the big names that they did sign was Philip Lindsay, Desmond King, Tyrod Taylor, and Mark Ingram. All of them actually signed pretty small deals. Desmond King was a 1 year, $3.5 million. Tyrod Taylor was 1 year at $12.5 million. Pretty low for a quarterback, but big in terms of overall numbers. Philip Lindsay was 1 year at $3 million, and Mark Ingram was 1 year at $2.3 million. So again, not really any big contracts for any of those players, but again, when you're hamstrung and you don't have cap space, you're kind of put in a really bad spot where you can't sign players. And as for the draft, it even gets worse, right? You didn't have a first round pick, you also didn't have a second round pick. So their first pick was 67th overall in the third round, and they decided to take a quarterback in Davis Mills. So again, if Deshaun Watson is not able to play this year, obviously you have to get someone in the draft this way. If Tyrod Taylor obviously is going to probably be the starter, but you know, if he were to go down, you really don't have a reliable guy in there. And also just in the fact of, let's say Deshaun Watson is reinstated and he upholds his end of saying, I don't want to play for the Houston Texans, you're going to have to trade him. And if you trade him, you need a young guy in there that could maybe be the future. And then at pick 89, they did take a wide receiver. Again, you had so few picks, so you got to address something. This is probably one of the worst rosters in the league. So you're going to just have to take the best available player and again, just start to rebuild that organization. Just to round out the rest of the draft, because there was only 5 picks, they took a tight end, Jordan Bevrin, probably saying that name wrong, at 147 overall, Garrett Wallow, a linebacker, at 170, and then their last pick, they took Ryan Lopez, a defensive tackle, at pick 195. So again, like I said, this is not like the first two videos where the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New York Jets had $100+ million this offseason in cap space. They had multiple picks, right? The Jets and the Jags had 4 or 5, or I think it was maybe 6 picks in the top 100, where it's the Houston Texans were the opposite. They had 1 pick. You know, they had 2 picks in the top 100, one at 67 and one at 89 overall. You know, if you're looking for a way to not run your franchise, really just look no further than the Houston Texans. Now again, I think they fired everyone in-house and they brought in new guys. So again, hopefully they're able to turn it around. But it is going to be a very difficult process to turn this around, because first off, you have to First off, you have to situate the whole Deshaun Watson thing, because if you trade him, you are going to take a massive cap hit number from trading him off your roster, because his contract extension doesn't even kick in until next year's season. So all that cap space, all that signing bonus you gave him is going to accelerate to next year's cap, and you are going to be in a ridiculously tough spot in order to try to clear cap space. You're almost going to essentially, if you were to trade Deshaun Watson, you are going to have to essentially just trade or cut all of your good players just to get under the salary cap, and you're going to essentially have to just completely restart. Now, obviously, if he comes back and if he plays, it's not going to be as long of a rebuild, because when you have the elite quarterback, you just need to put adequate talent around him, and he can make the rest of the team look a lot better. Again, I think this is probably the worst roster in the league, but with Deshaun Watson last year, their offense was very successful, and they did win, I think, 4 games, right? With Deshaun Watson, they might have been a winless team. And the reason why I said it gets so bad is when you look at their projected cap space, again, like I said, it's at $9 million for this season, so that $9 million will roll over, but this is a crazy number. Their projected cap for next year is negative $150,000. So they are projected to actually already be over the cap, and they're not even a good football team. And you almost think to yourself, who the hell are they paying where they are over the cap for next year? Now, obviously, that's also strange from the standpoint when you say to yourself, how would they have $9 million this year, and next year with the same guys, they're actually under? How does that work? Well, obviously, with some guys, when they sign extensions, when their extensions kick in, that's why the number increases. So obviously the big one is Deshaun Watson. For this season, Deshaun Watson is making $15.9 million. Next year, his cap number jumps up to $40 million, right? So that is a $26 million increase. So that is a large chunk of the cap that's going to be eaten up by your quarterback position. Now, obviously, Deshaun Watson, again, we've talked about it a couple times already. There is one avenue they can go. It's kind of similar to what the Raiders did with Antonio Brown, right? When you fine him for conduct detrimental to the team, almost couldn't say that correctly, you can actually negate his signing bonus and all of his extra bonuses that you had given him. So obviously, what Deshaun Watson is getting himself into, the legal troubles, that is more than grounds for the Houston Texans to say, we are not going to pay your signing bonus. And then at that point, if they're able to void that, they can maybe cut him and not have to pay him any money. Or, because again, he is a good quarterback, you maybe, once you void that guaranteed salary, you're able to now trade him. And if you trade him, you can get some assets back, and you won't have to take the huge salary cap hit because you voided his guarantees. Again, if we're going to talk about the season, if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, they're like a 1-win team. They're probably going to go 0-16 if he's not the starter. But again, maybe they win a game or two. They are in, not so great division. But the whole division did get better, so it might not be the worst division in the league anymore, because again, all the teams really are getting better in that division. But yeah, this is a rough one to shoot. This was a rough one to look at the numbers. Again, the Houston Texans are... it seems like 3-4 years away from even being able to compete for a playoff spot. Now again, even if Deshaun Watson comes back, you're still like 2 or 3 years away, because next year, again, you have no cap space. You're finally, I believe, you're going to have all your draft picks for next year, so that'll be great. But again, you won't be able to sign any free agents, and you're only going to be able to draft a couple of players, maybe a handful, 2 or 3, that can even make the roster and again, impact your roster. So again, you're a bad football team, and next year your only hope is to maybe draft 1 or 2 players that can come in and be a good player. So even adding 1 or 2 players is not going to drastically change the overall talent of the roster. So Houston Texans fans, man, it's going to be a long year, and I imagine next year when I do a video like this, it's going to be pretty similar. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button and also subscribe, as it does help the channel out, and I look forward to the next video. Bye.